Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Have you been waiting for new stories? I have two new ones for you today. First one is about OP and her boyfriend, who is pushing OP to spend her deceased husband's money. What do you do in this situation, guys? Do you think OP is doing the right thing, not spending this money? Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, leave a comment. I need to tell you about my husband, so you can understand why I don't want to spend the money. I moved abroad for university and met him there. It was all going so fast. We moved in together within a month. We were married within a year. 2 students with 2 jobs each, and yet we never let the stress affect our relationship. We resolved everything with a conversation and made a lot of compromises. We had a perfect partnership and really enjoyed life once we got our degrees and adult jobs. 8 years ago, we were in a car accident and his leg was broken. The hospital failed to diagnose compartment syndrome and just slapped a cast on it. It led to the skin bursting open, infections that almost losing him, and permanent nerve damage. Eventually, he was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome. He was in constant, excruciating pain and barely mobile. He tried everything, and some treatments gave him temporary relief, but the pain would always come back. He sued the hospital and got a nice settlement, invested that money wisely, and turned it into a fortune. I kept working, but he never let me spend the money I made. He was in so much pain that at times he could hardly string a whole sentence, but he never stopped being the perfect husband, and he needed to take care of me. 4 years ago, we were texting while I was at work, and he sounded off. I could tell it was a particularly bad day, pain-wise, and left work early. I found him, and he wasn't alive. No matter what everyone says, I know it was an accidental overdose. When people overdose with pills, they usually go overboard. He took them one by one to make the pain stop. We were texting the entire morning, and he never sounded like he wanted to say goodbye. He didn't even say he loves me. I grew up and matured with him. He was my entire adult life, and I didn't know how to function without him. Before the accident, we were very active and adventurous. We tried every activity and visited everything our city could offer. Every inch reminded me of him, and I couldn't take it anymore. I had a breakdown when a restaurant we had visited just once closed, and I knew I had to get away. I moved back to my home country. It's a developing country with very low living standards, so the money I inherited would have been enough for the next 5 generations to live very, very comfortably. I had saved a nice sum, so I invested my money. I didn't want to touch the inheritance. I wanted to give back, and that was the core principle by which I invested. Also, I needed to feel better about hoarding wealth. For example, one avocado used to cost a small fortune and could be bought at only one elite store. I started the first local avocado farm, opened up job opportunities, and in a very desolate rural area, brought the product to all supermarkets and made it available to a lot more people, while making money. I did the same thing with real estate. I urbanized previously useless areas and invested in affordable student housing. Now I have several businesses, but give myself a monthly paycheck, and the rest of the profit goes to charity and funding medical research. I still can't make myself touch the money I inherited, even though I know I can make it a lot more good. Eventually, I started dating again. Took me a while to accept I can't compare everyone with my late husband. I will never love anyone the same way, but I will love again. Now we're together, and he understands all that, and is happy with what we have. There's just one issue. He's a banker, and makes a good living for himself, but also knows how much money I have. He doesn't understand why we can't just go on a vacation on some tropical island on a whim. Why I needed to save up to buy a new car. Why I give so much money away, etc. He acts like he wants to make me start spending it on myself, but he does seem greedy at times. I live a modest life. I genuinely don't need much, but every now and then he tries to push me in situations where I will pass my monthly budget. It's causing a rift between us, and he goes about it the wrong way. He doesn't talk about the issues that concern me, like hoarding wealth instead of giving more. He keeps talking about everything I could do for myself with that kind of money, and by extent, for us. He also kind of butts in at times. My father, uncles, and godfather were bikers, so I grew up on a bike. When we were dating in high school, I rode whatever scooter I was legally allowed, and he wasn't interested in bikes at all. Literally the only high school boy I have ever met that wasn't interested in bikes, but kept harping on about safety. My husband caught the bug, and we loved riding together. Recently, I saved up for the model I had when my husband was alive, and suddenly, my boyfriend started showing interest. Now he wants to buy a bike too. I don't know what his deal is, and there's that lingering paranoia. He has his own money, but I have a lot more. He is a banker. His life revolves around money, and he goes above and beyond to preserve the relationship when I push back. All that aside, he makes me happy, but I don't think this relationship will survive if he doesn't shut up about my blood money. I'm aware this all comes from me. I'm the one with the issues. On the other hand, I already had someone that adored me for me. I'm not the same person anymore, and now I don't feel as lovable. If my husband isn't here to enjoy life, why should someone else indulge in excess with the money he got because of the thing that took him away from me? Do you think it's worth compromising to save this relationship? Or should I call it quits and work on myself before I start dating again? I don't agree with OP that it's blood money. Maybe she should see a therapist who can help her with guilt and grief. It's OP's money, and she can do with it as she pleases. A one-year boyfriend who has opinions on how she spends her money should be shut down hard. He has no right. Not indulging in excess is a personal decision that OP has made, and he has no right to second-guess her. So, my best friend's husband, Ross, 30 Mo, is my supervisor. It's a small community, and it's really hard not to work with someone you know or are friends with. I was a little worried at first, but he has always been 100% professional, as have I, and for years, it's been working beautifully. He is always respectful, but stern at work, and completely separates our friendship. He is like this with all of our co-workers. Until recently. My best friend, Nancy, 30 female, had their first baby about 6 months ago. Around that time, we also got a new employee in our department. Kate, mid-20s. Kate is gorgeous, bubbly, friendly, and the type that gets everyone's attention. After Nancy had the baby, she started becoming paranoid. She's also a gorgeous woman, but was completely unhappy with the changes that happen to a woman's body once she has a kid. Stretch marks, excess skin, generally looking tired, etc. I mean, I've seen plenty of pregnant bodies, and she has recovered beautifully, but she doesn't feel that way. She kept talking about how ugly she looks now, and how Ross is going to sleep with other younger, more beautiful women. I kept reassuring her that she was still smoking hot, and that Ross had made no indications before that he is unfaithful. Their baby has also been having a lot of trouble sleeping at night, and the couple is sleep-deprived. They're both complaining a lot about the other, but that's just how things go with the first baby, I think. From what I can tell, hearing this from both Nancy and Ross's side, Ross goes straight home, helps out with all the chores, all the baby stuff, and is a good father and husband. However, after about 2 months after the baby's birth, I kind of started to notice a change in Ross. Kate and Ross started acting flirtatiously. It was noticeable because he doesn't act that way with anyone else, and we have plenty of young women in our department. Nothing outright inappropriate is said, but there are a lot of moments like this. 1. When Kate responds to something with, "I'm all over it," Ross makes a sound while smiling, as if he's imagining it. They kind of look at each other for a bit while smiling. Kate giggles and goes, "Oh, stop," lightly punches him on the arm and walks away. 2. Anytime Kate talks about what she did with her boyfriend, Rob responds with, "Lucky guy. He has never done this with anyone else." 3. This, to me, is the most damning. Nancy visits with the baby once in a while to take Ross out to lunch, maybe once a month. Ross and Kate act like they barely know each other, won't even glance at each other while he continues to pal around with everyone else in the office. Others in the office have started making little comments. When they walk in on Kate and Ross alone in a room, they go, "Whoa, am I interrupting?" Little things like that. I kind of hear little bits of rumors and snickering here and there, mostly just typical office gossip and speculation. I spoke to Ross about this, and told him that, even if he doesn't intend to be flirtatious, it's coming off that way and will reflect poorly on him. He instantly denied it, said that no one thinks that way, kind of implied that I was seeing things that weren't there, and just brushed it off. Whatever, I warned him. I don't want to get involved. I did my bit. Nancy has become increasingly paranoid, like, beyond what is normal. If one little thing is off, she will instantly jump to Ross using his smoke breaks to have a quickie with 3 women. Like, what? Just because his shirt was untucked. This is a real belief she had. She was getting ready to pack her things and leave with the baby because his shirt was untucked when he got home, and she thought that was a sure sign of infidelity. Even though I have my suspicions, she thinks that he has turned into some kind of insane S-fiend because he has been a bit grumpy with her. I asked her if there were signs that he was unfaithful, Did she check his text? Did she smell perfume on him? Does he leave the house without her knowing where he is? And each time, she tells me that there is nothing. He's either at work or at home. She keeps saying, "You'll keep an eye on him, right?" I tell her that I'm there to work, and I can't constantly keep tabs on her husband. But I'll let her know if I see anything. Which I kind of have, but not really. I think she might have postpartum depression, but she denies it. She just says she's a little tired. Initially, I was ready to tell her about how I felt about Ross and Kate, but now I'm not sure. My current feel of the situation is Ross is probably going through an office crush, possibly the beginning of an emotional affair, but has not yet gone beyond that. I feel like if I tell Kate now, she might instantly divorce him without there being any kind of proof. That's how broken their relationship is at this point. I really don't want to get involved, but I'm kind of stuck. If I don't tell her and she finds out about Kate, I'm sure she will think I was protecting Ross. Not only that, I feel like if I tell her, maybe they can nip this in the bud before he turns it into a full-on affair. On the other hand, if I do tell her, she will probably jump to the worst possible conclusion and I will destroy their marriage. What the hell do I do? I really want to stay out of all of this, but I feel like I'm at a point where I can't. I think OP needs to talk to Ross again. She needs to ask him to lunch and tell him exactly why she thinks he's walking on ice and mention that other people see it too. Also, she should mention that it isn't fair on her, that she considers herself a friend to both, and she can't keep telling Nancy that nothing is going on. She needs to mention that Nancy might need to be seen for postpartum depression, and that they both could use some couples counseling. And tell him that if he doesn't clean up his act, she'll have to tell Nancy. Update. I finally had a serious conversation with Ross. His flirting has become very obvious, and I basically did the one thing I swore I wouldn't do, which was to spy on him. I wrote down all the things I noticed throughout the day, along with context and time, because I was sick of all this, and pissed to no end. Not gonna lie, I was feeling a little vindictive because he kept gaslighting me, and saying I was seeing stuff that wasn't there, and misinterpreting other coworkers' comments about him and Kate, coworker he kept flirting with. I told him that I needed to talk to him, and we grabbed lunch. I told him point blank that he is flirting with Kate. There's no way for him to deny it. Nancy suspects that he's cheating, and it's destroying her. Unexpectedly, I think my voice quivered and I got teary-eyed when I got to "it's destroying her," because I think it suddenly dawned on me how true that statement was, and how actually serious the situation was. I think the same realization dawned on Ross at that moment as well. Before Ross could say anything, I also just listed all of the flirtatious things he and Kate did that day, because I was just really tired of dancing around the subject. I don't want to hear him even try to deny it. It's a waste of time. Dude, we only have an hour for lunch. He is clearly defeated, admitted that he had a crush on Kate, and just kind of, I don't know, emotionally crumbled. He told me that the baby changed everything about his relation dynamic with Nancy. A lot of the typical things of Nancy pushing him away because she doesn't want to be affectionate. Both of being exhausted and cranky all the time, etc., etc. He also said that Kate reminded him of Nancy before she had the baby. I told him to never, ever say that to Nancy, ever. Even if he was coming clean with everything to her. I urged him to just sit down and have a talk with Nancy. He felt guilty about wanting Nancy's attention and affection when she was so busy with the baby. So he kind of bottled that up. I told him that it's okay for him to want those things. He shouldn't make Nancy feel about it, which I suspect he may have, but I'm not sure. But at least communicate with her about it. It's so strange, because before the baby, Nancy and Ross were fantastic at communication, and were just a freaking dynamo couple. It really felt like I was looking at two completely new people. Ross promised me that he'd clean up his act, and that was that. A couple of days later, I hung out with Nancy. I told her that while her current situation is difficult, her paranoia is beyond what one could consider normal, and that she needed to see someone for her postpartum depression, as well as a couples therapist. Again, I was just so sick of dancing around everyone's feelings, so I just straight up told her that I can't do this anymore, and that both she and Ross are destroying their marriage by pretending that all of this is normal. With her, the conversation was pretty short. I said, just ducking talk to him for Christ's sake, and left. It was not one of my most tactful moments. Anyway, it's been a couple of weeks and things are going well. Ross's mom was visiting one weekend. This was already planned, unrelated to this whole ordeal. So he and Nancy asked her to watch the baby for a day and just spend a day talking. I'm not quite sure what went down, but apparently Ross told her about the crush, apologized profusely, and promised that he would only interact with Kate in the normal, professional manner. He showed her all of his texts and described the office flirting. Shockingly, Kate basically reacted with, "That's it." I guess she was imagining something way worse. Go figs. She told him not to feed that office crush, but was actually pretty cool about him having one. She said it's normal, and she has had office crushes in the past too. We all agreed that Ross was absolutely inappropriately feeding the crush, and that it was bordering on cheating. You'll have to grovel a while for that one to go away. But all in all, they seem to have a really good day together and kind of regained the momentum they had before. Nancy has started seeing someone for her PPD, and they are in couples counseling. Nancy still has bouts of weird depressive episodes, but I'm sure it'll get better with time. I hate to say it, but their baby is kind of a nightmare. Super cute, but will not eat or sleep properly. Ross has completely changed his attitude toward Kate, basically how he treats everyone else in the office. So I truly believe they are in the men's. I'm really happy to see them fix things, but I told them that I'm a bit burnt out with our friendship and need some time apart. They apologized and agreed that they'll keep their distance from me until I contact them first. They're getting back to their old selves, so I'm sure we'll get over this hump and be good friends again. Kate, however, is not taking this whole thing well. She shouldn't be trying to cheat on her boyfriend, but Ross was also kind of the driving force behind this, so I'm a little bit sympathetic. She continued to try to flirt with Ross, but it clearly wasn't going anywhere. Then she started openly flirting with another much older married director, I'm guessing in his 50s. Dude seems a bit confused, but isn't really shutting it down either. A couple of days ago, she approached me and asked if I thought Ross was being kind of weird towards her. Kate and I are not friends, and we barely interact, so this was definitely out of the norm. She knows that I'm friends with Ross, though. I did not want to get involved again, so I basically gave her a very quizzical, surprised look and said, "Oh, I have no idea. I haven't noticed anything." I noped the hell out of there as quick as I can. Sometimes you gotta be smart and play it down.